Could Manchester United be making a double move for both Timo Werner and Michael Olise? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre around Manchester United. The January transfer window is open once again. And with obviously this whole new takeover thing that Manchester United have got going on right now, Jim Ratcliffe coming in as a big part owner of the club. Many news outlets and many sources within the media are claiming that there is going to be big things on the horizon at Manchester United. And obviously with the January transfer window coming around, those two things kind of go hand in hand. And with that being said, there has been plenty of stories about United maybe plotting certain moves for certain players. And the two big ones to come out today have been that Jim Ratcliffe himself has said that he wants a certain man from Crystal Palace to be his first signing in Michael Olise. And then later on in the day, it emerged that Timo Werner allegedly could be on his way to Old Trafford and returning to the Premier League after what was a pretty big failure of a move to Chelsea a couple of years ago. Big stories, big things to talk about, and obviously this is just the beginning of the January transfer window hype, so I'm very keen to get your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on the January transfer window as a whole, but specifically, obviously, for this video, these two potential players joining Manchester United's ranks this summer. Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below, but don't also forget while you're down there to hit the like button and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated, of course, so do get involved in all of that good stuff. All would be very much appreciated. But without further ado, shall we say, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Timo Werner and Michael Olise. We're going to start with Olise first because Olise is the interesting one. Olise, well, actually, no. Let's start with Werner, actually. If you're Manchester United right now, what would you say your biggest problem is in terms of being on the football pitch? Would you say it's your goalkeeping situation? Look, Onana's not exactly been great, but in the Premier League has at least been somewhat okay enough to get you through certain games. Champions League was all down to him and the way that you crashed out that competition spectacularly, may I add. But I would say that for the Premier League, he's been okay. Defensively, you have a lot of issues injury-wise back there. You've got a lot of dead wood to shift at certain points in the near future, but I wouldn't say it's a massive issue right now. Midfield, I would say, creatively speaking, you've only got really Bruno Fernandes. That's about it. The rest are all more defensive midfielders and Scott McTominay, whatever the hell he is. Wingers, not good enough. Inconsistent, struggling to find any kind of real form right now or any sort of confidence in their ability. You spent 80 million or whatever the hell it was on Anthony, who is nothing more than a Beyblade with no blades. And up front, you've got Rasmus Højlund, who is feeding off scraps right now. So to me, that instantly says to me that you lack creativity. You lack a Bruno Fernandes type figure for if A, Bruno Fernandes isn't firing all cylinders, and B, a Bruno Fernandes type figure that can open the door of a locked defence. That is what you're struggling on. That is why Højlund hasn't scored as many goals in the Premier League as what some people would like, because he's been having to feed off scraps. Yes, there may be a few examples of efforts and attempts on goal that maybe you can put down to Højlund, but he's been feeding off scraps. They need someone in those types of figures, and that's why I'll come on to Michael Olise a little later. But you decide to go for a Timo Werner type figure instead. This sums up Manchester United over the past 10-15 years, in my opinion. You go for a Timo Werner type figure. A player who, for Chelsea, I backed. I like the look of him. I constantly said he needs time. But eventually that time ticks down. And eventually the excuses run out. The reasons run out. This guy, pace-wise, explosive. Speed, explosive. Finishing, atrocious. Inconsistent. Abysmal sometimes. This guy was just hit and miss for Chelsea. And I know I sound a bit hypocritical. Earlier today I made a video on Darwin Núñez, who may have similar situation to what Timo Werner was in when he was at Chelsea. But at least with Núñez, there is more of a killer instinct there. With Werner, there was very little, or there was very little examples of it. He made a name for himself in the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig, and he was incredible there. Maybe you could say he was put under the wrong management at Chelsea, under the managers he did play under. Thomas Tuchel mainly, of course, and Frank Lampard, atrocious. But he made a name for himself in Germany. He came over to England. There was something with this guy. You could kind of sense that maybe if he kind of got himself settled down in England, maybe it would start working for him. Maybe it would start clicking for him. And it never quite happened for him. And even since going back to Leipzig, he's not been the same player since. So why are United going for him? I understand that the initial part is seemingly a loan. And it does seem to be the norm. I know that obviously there has been rumblings and rumours that United are flying dangerously close to the sun in terms of FFP laws. But even so, are you telling me there's no one else out there that you can attract? No one else out there that you can go and get that's bigger and better than Timo Werner? More prolific than Timo Werner? Even though you don't need him, you need someone who is more creative. Someone who, on the wing positions who, I know he can play left wing, but he's not really predominantly a left winger, and he's not got the creativity of like a Bruno Fernandes, or he's not got like the all-round creativity of a winger of the top standard in the Premier League, like a Mohamed Salah, for example, who can both score and assist and is perfectly rounded in that aspect, to be able to carry on that role, able to provide chances for the likes of Rasmus Højlund. This guy is just pace. He's just knock the ball over the top and let him run onto it. And every now and again, he'll create something, or he'll score. He'll do something that's great. But 9 times out of 10, he'll flop. He will flop. And again, this is a guy that I liked. This is a guy that I really did like when he was at Leipzig, and I was hoping that Jurgen Klopp would make him into a beast at Liverpool. But of course, he went to Chelsea instead. I just feel like this is, again, another player that United are looking at that is not going to fit the massive problem hole that they have. They have a problem. They have a creative issue, and they're looking at a guy like Timo Werner to maybe solve that particular issue. I don't see it. I don't understand it. It's weird to me. It's very much weird to me. I don't understand why this is going through. Now, Michael Olise, I like Michael Olise. I've liked him a lot at Crystal Palace. I like this guy. I feel like he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's made 9 appearances in the Premier League this season. He scored 5 goals. He's got 1 assist. I know he has missed pretty much half the season so far with injury, so that's been a big hit for him. And I know that obviously the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea were in for him in the summer. So I know that this guy is highly rated and highly sought of by a lot of talented managers out there. Pep Guardiola, of course, Maurizio Pochettino, both obviously admire him, and I imagine there was a lot more of us. I think Liverpool were even interested in him maybe a year or 2 ago. So again, he's got big admirers, so there is obviously something with this guy, and he is someone who I think, given some time, given some effort to obviously smooth out his rough edges, can be a guy to provide that sort of creative link, to provide creativity, output. He's not bad from a set piece either. I think United found that out firsthand last season. I think this guy could become a really, really good player for the future. I'm just not 100% sure that he's willing to gamble that very potential bright future on a move to Manchester United, who are, like I say, a massive gamble right now. It's a massive roll of the dice. It's a club that you're potentially going to that is not in the best possible position right now, I'd say. they're not in the best state of play. If this was them last year, obviously it was a big roll of the dice then. But this year, given how their season's gone from being a top 4 side in the Champions League to obviously being where they are right now, it's a massive roll of the dice. And for a guy who's got a massive potential on his future, a guy who's got a very bright future, I'm not so sure if going to Manchester United will be the right call for him. For United, I think it'd be brilliant until he gets down to a mediocre level. But for the here and now, I'd have to go... Olise is someone that everyone should be looking at, I think. I think a lot of players should be looking at. And I think for United, it does fit that potential, that big problem that I was talking about in terms of creativity, in terms of output, in terms of obviously being a young player, his nationality is obviously going to fit in well as well with the Premier League, and obviously fit in well with the restrictions and everything that go with the announcing a Premier League squad. I just think that it may not be the right move for the player himself, because it's just a massive gamble right now. We don't know what to expect from this new era at Manchester United with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I know he's very much high on this guy, and I know that this is why the news came about, because he wants to make him one of his first signings. I get that. I understand that. I'm just not so sure it's the best move for Olise. For Werner, it's fine, especially if it's going to be a loan move. There's not really a massive risk there. Especially if you do the loan move correctly, which is if he does somehow manage to really rediscover the form that he showed at Leipzig the first time around, and he goes on to score a ton of goals for Manchester United, salvages whatever is left of United's season, then if they work that loan deal out right, it could be great. For Olise, like I say, he rejected Chelsea this summer to stay at Crystal Palace, and not many players would do that. Especially not many players this summer would have done that for as obviously what was foretold in what was a summer of Chelsea splashing the cash at anyone and everyone. And then, of course, you have Olise, who was linked with moves to City, moves to Chelsea, and he rejected them all to stay at Crystal Palace, and that is commemorable in itself, and it's honourable. And obviously he felt like his development would be better suited at Palace, and obviously he can continue his development. But of course there always is that moment where you think that maybe it's time to jump ship. And maybe for Olise, maybe the time is now, or maybe the time is going to be in the summer for him to jump ship and really start to shine that potential that he's got, that bright future that we all see that he has. Like I say, he's quick. He's very two-footed. He's very tricky. He's got skill. He's got flair. He's got ability. He's got great technique. He can carry the ball. Link-up plays pretty good. Like I say, still a little rough around the edges, but you'd expect that from a player of his age and from where he's at. And you'd probably expect them, like, with all due respect, like, Man United have better individual talents. Højlund, Fernandes, compared to what Palace have. Palace probably have right now a solid team that is going to work for him. But at United, he'll have individual talents that will help him get to maybe that next level. And if that's going to be the case, that will be the case. Obviously, we don't know how United will develop going forward. That's obviously a mystery. But Olise, I'm not saying that it's wrong for Olise to go to Manchester United. He could well fit in there. And let's face it, the bar's not exactly set high for him. So he'll feel the pressure of being in a Man United shirt given its history. But if he's looking at it as, I can really lay down a marker here, lay down that right wing position as my place, take it from an 80 million fidget spinner, then whatever. But fair play. But they are good moves, or Olise is at least a good move for Manchester United to be considering and to be in the race of. I'm just not so sure for Olise it's probably the right move for him, especially considering that there are probably bigger fish out there that he could go to. Bigger clubs out there that he could go to. But those are just my thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this potential transfer story, or stories, should I say. What do you guys think? What do you make of the Timo Werner rumours to Manchester United? And what do you make of Michael Olise probably being United's first signing? under the Sir Jim Ratcliffe era. I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, down below in the comment section, because I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you and speak to you all again soon.